Whether you've been making your own card game for a while now, or this is your very first card game, this event is for everyone. So basically, all you gotta do is make the very best card you possibly can. This means planning it out, going into a lot of detail, spending a lot of time onto it. I want this to be like the highlight of your guys' game, the one card that just when you look at it, it is a masterpiece, and then you're gonna enter it into this event. And even if you're watching this after the event, you can still participate and basically use the outline of this video to make the very best card you can. The reason I wanted to do this event is because I think a lot of creators are unconfident and doubt their abilities to make good cards, and so by following this video, I want you to really show yourself that you can make really good cards if you put a lot of time and planning into it and really enjoy this hobby. Because if we're gonna make cards that are gonna be played by many people, you know, why not make them the greatest cards we can? So this video, all you gotta do is focus on one, and then if you like it so much, then I hope this like sparks you guys to make even more really cool cards. All right, so number one is first you're gonna find an idea that you just absolutely love, that calls out to you, that interests you a lot. I usually find a lot of my card ideas just from reading books. Like the other day, I was reading this book and it was talking about these soldiers on the Great Wall of China. So here's the quote I was talking about, guys, and it says, "Discoveries made by Stein along the ruins of the Great Wall of China at its farthest westward extension, the fragments of poetry written on bamboo by lonely soldiers, many of whom were sent on duty in the far west of China as boys and returned only as old men no longer fit to serve." I just think it's super cool how people can just be out there guarding a section of the Great Wall of China like completely alone, and then they still create, they still make poetry. I just really like that idea. So I'm going to turn that quote into my own interpretation into a card. By the way, the book is The Education of a Wandering Man by Louis L'Amour, if you are interested. I think it's a pretty awesome book. It talks about education outside the classroom. I mean, so many of my card ideas come from these books, and I recommend you guys build some sort of bookshelf. It doesn't have to be any crazy books or classics. It can just be anything that you're interested in. You just read a line and you just have to turn it into a card. That's kind of something I do. I actually have a box of whenever I like hear a quote, I just write it down and I put it on a piece of paper, and then whenever I'm lost on inspiration, I just look at those quotes, or I just flip through a book until I find a line I really like, and I kind of help that form the foundation of one of my cards. Pick something that really interests you, no matter what it is, and now you're going to make that the basis of your idea. Okay, step two is now you're going to gather all the materials you can to make this the very best card you can. So forget this creating a whole set or a whole starter deck for a moment. You're gathering all the materials just for this one card. For example, if you have like a human character in this card concept, like a samurai or something, make sure you look up a lot of reference photos for human anatomy, for what types of samurai armor looks like, not just like the stereotypical type stuff, but make sure you go deep. Do some research about your idea. So for example, if I was going to go back to that samurai idea, maybe I turn this card into an actual learning experience instead of just making something based on what I already know. Why not learn a little bit and add those ideas into my card? That just makes making a card game set so much more fun because you're actually learning as you're doing it, and you can look back at that set, and because you're learning so many new things, you don't get demotivated because there's always new things to explore. One of my favorite things to do is just have my friends point to any card in my binder and I can tell a little story about it. It's one of the most fun things to do because each card has like a story for me and like an original idea that sprung forth because of it. So gather your materials, grab some, look up some images on Pinterest, anywhere. Maybe you can generate some AI concepts if you're really into that. But I recommend you just gather a bunch of, a whole mood board for this card. And you can, basically start a Google Doc and just paste a bunch of images of stuff you found online, of things you like, add some lore details. So basically you're just going to make a research document gathering everything you can for this one card. Okay, so now that you have all your resources gathered, you're going to start making the first concepts of your card. You're not going to go straight to the art. You can for future cards after this, but we're just focusing on this one card right now. So make sure that you take out a sketchbook and just start planning the colors you're going to use, details, things from your mood board that you're going to interpret in your own style. For example, if I was doing samurai armor from a photo, I would put it in my own style. I wouldn't just copy it piece for piece. And it might take a few card art concepts to really get this down. You might have 3 vastly different ideas, and then you basically narrow it down and choose the best one. That's really fun. It's like a competition competing between concept arts. Which one do you like the best? Which is the best idea? That's something you could do. And then once you have that concept that you really like, you're going to make that the basis of the actual card art. Okay, so now you're going to do the actual art, And this might mean like looking up what actual landscapes look like to add more depth to your card. It might mean trying to look up some tutorials on how to shade better with colored pencils or marker or whatever medium you're using, maybe even digital. Just make sure that you're learning while making this card. Don't be in any rush. You're not in any rush to make this card. I think the deadline for this event, I'll give it at the end of this video, or I'll also give the details in the link in the description. You're gonna basically have at least a week to make this. It'll probably be like probably a month, but for now, just focus on the card and not the time. And also a really good tip for just wanting to make your arts better. Usually if you just spend more time on each art, then your art progresses a lot more, like focusing on the detail. It's not so much like sketching and getting really good at the fundamentals. Just try to spend a lot more time on each card until it's really to your liking. So instead, like usually I would take like maybe an hour per card, but if I was making the greatest card I could, I would probably spend maybe 2 to 3 hours on it, or just spend my whole week just planning it, making sure it's like the pinnacle of all my card games, of all the cards I've ever made. Because I want this to be your favorite card you've ever made. When you look back on it, it's going to be amazing. You could even make it the cover card of your set if you're going to design a set after making this card. Alright, so I'm looking up images of the Great Wall of China and some other stuff with samurais and some other things like some nature, some poetry written on bamboo, and I'm going to all tie that into the card. So while I'm doing this, you guys can gather your own research and your own reference images and start crafting your idea. And then next is the ability. You want to make sure that the ability ties into the art. So for example, if there's like a 3-headed dog that I drew, I would make it like a 3-cost. When played, deal 3 damage. Try to tie the ability into the art. Or if I was doing some sort of well card, like you would maybe roll a dice every time you threw like a coin in the well. Like that's what I have in my mind, and then I would try to turn that into ability. So when played, roll of 6-sided dice. If it's a 6, you gain a bunch of resources, kind of like a wishing well. Like if your wish comes true, that's something you could do. Try to be really creative, and also don't skip out on the name. When doing the name, you can look up some words in the dictionary, like expand your vocabulary. Don't just use the words you've already known before. Look up some cool words that you just think sound cool, and try to connect that into your art. Like whenever I'm reading books, I sometimes just circle words I really like and would want to add to cards. And yeah, so that's basically gonna be your card. Make sure it is as good as you can get it. If it takes multiple attempts, that's fine. And then you guys are gonna join the Discord link in the description. And in that Discord, there's gonna be a channel called Card Event. And then you guys can post your cards, like take a photo, upload it on Discord in that channel, and then I will be making a YouTube short featuring my favorite 2 cards that are entered in this event, and you guys will get a little shout out for your own YouTube channels or your own creator names or whatever. And yeah, you will have a very own YouTube short talking about your card. So if you want to add any more details, like for example, if you make a card and you want to add like a whole story or backstory behind it, I can talk about that in the video. Or just make sure you add like how you designed the card, just so if you do become one of the winners and I choose you to make a YouTube short about, I have some stuff to talk about in that short to really make that card seem valuable and give it a lot more depth. This whole event was sparked by my video TCG Renaissance, which is basically, it's such a good time to make a card game. So many people are making a card game. We're kind of in a renaissance right now, but I want to make the idea of each card being a masterpiece, each card being really valuable on its own. Not just like, oh, I'm going to make a set. Some cards are going to be better than others art-wise. Make sure that every card is amazing, and that when you finish that set, all those cards are just complete your magnum opus of a card game. So that was kind of the idea in that video. And this can be your first step if you're just starting a set or just starting a new card game. This will be your first step to set the standard of what your card game is going to be. So yeah, I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. Thank you so much for watching, and good luck on making your best cards that you can. See ya.